morning. Splendid. Ms. Ricci, who are we going to be for this assignment?
You're going to be a group of 14-year-olds taking the class required before you can get your permit.
14-year-olds taking a learner's permit class.
Yeah.
So, behave the way a person who is taking a mandatory driving test would behave in said class.
Oh, so I can be on my phone still?
Okay.
I'll leave that here. She's hot.
In 2.5 years, you will have the freedom on the roads. Imagine joyriding whenever you like and jamming out to your favorite tunes. But with driving comes major responsibilities, including the lives of everyone. I realize you have been lectured on this topic over and over again, but I'm required by the law to talk to you and hope you'll understand the importance of not using your cell phone while behind the wheel. So here we go, let's begin. The issue over cell phones while driving has been debated for years. Everyone has their own opinion on the topic and will share with just about anybody. Many polls and records have been taken, and as of today, using or dialing a cell phone is the 8th leading most reported cause of distraction-related accidents. In a study done by the University of Utah Psychology Department, they found that cell phone drivers showed a greater impairment than drivers who were under the influence of alcohol. Using your cell phone reduces your reaction time just as equally as driving while intoxicated. Now let's look at this from another angle. Just think about a regular day and how many times you check your cell phone. Most of you probably couldn't guess due to the fact that cell phones are teenagers' lifelines. In multiple surveys, it was found that the average person checks their phone around 110 to 150 times per day. This includes checking the time, texting, checking for missed calls. Now think of all the social media you are a part of, and how much time do you think you spend browsing through those? Your generation is known as the Facebook generation or digital natives because of how well technology allows you to stay connected 24/7. And as you begin to drive, you will have the urge to pick up your phone because that's what you know. You have all grown used to always keeping your phone with you, but when you get in the car to drive, you must put down the phone and not touch it until you get out of the car. Like I mentioned earlier, everyone is entitled to their own opinion and bring up strong counter-arguments for why cell phones should be allowed. The first and foremost is the what about an emergency? Am I supposed to just take the risk and not call the police? Emergency are defined as serious, unexpected, and often dangerous situation requiring immediate action. In the case of an unexpected or dangerous situation, measures are taken for your own well-being. These measures are out of the ordinary and usually the last resort to ensure your safety. So in the case of an emergency situation, I agree cell phones should be allowed if your safety is at risk. Cell phones are supposed to provide security and a feeling of protection, but that can only be true when they are used correctly. When the debate about whether or not cell phones should be allowed in the car, the idea of a hands-free device is almost always mentioned. The most common hands-free device is Bluetooth. It allows your phone to be connected in sync with the car and allows us to answer phone calls and make calls without ever having to pick up the phone itself. Many assume that this is the perfect compromise due to the fact that your hands do not have to be taken away from the wheel, but the fact is not about your hands being occupied, but rather your brain. When people answer their phone through Bluetooth, their mind is immediately focused on that call and listening to the words on the other end. In a recent study done by the American Automobile Association, they concluded that hands-free is not risk-free. These new speech-based technologies in the car can overload the driver's attention and impair their ability to drive safely. Just because your eyes are on the road and your hands are placed on the wheel does not mean you are fully alert and aware of your surroundings. The best way to ensure that you are observant is to simply put away or turn off the phone. You should never have to gamble with life or to say hey to someone. With that said, let's talk about those commercials against texting and driving. We have all seen them, but don't pay attention when they show us a scenario and go on and on about the dangers of cell phones and driving. We have all put up a shield without realizing it because that would never happen to me, so why should I have to listen? The answer is simple, because it can and it will happen to anybody. It does not matter how much experience you think you have or how lucky you may be. Those commercials are not hypothetical situations and affect thousands of people every year between those who caused the pain and those who endured it. Being able to drive is a privilege and should be an exciting time in your life. It simply comes down to put the phone away, stay focused, and don't drive while intoxicated.
All right, commentary, and we're still recording. Mr. Brown. Wait a minute, that's Harms.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah, I thought that conclusion was it was punny, very.
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, it's something that's different, which is something that you would need for an audience like this, who's otherwise likely to fall asleep. Stompoly?
I thought she took really good control over the room.
Yeah, your ability to command the room is fine. The question is whether you would be able to compete against wireless devices or exhaust you. We'll talk about this as we discuss the persuasive element of the speech specifically, but I don't think command of the room is the problem. Mr. Rydell.
I thought it was well organized.
No problems with internal organization. I think we'd have to agree on that. Jurgensmeyer?
I just thought she was really well rehearsed and flowed.
Well, smooth, yes, agree there. Mr. Wagner?
She had a very clear thesis statement.
No problem with that. Shanahan?
I thought she seemed very professional for this one.
Okay. Is professional necessarily what you want to be with this audience?
I guess not.
Then what would you want to be?
Very casual, I guess. Just
Relatable would probably be the primary thing that you would need to be with this audience.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't mean you need to be unprofessional, okay? I'm not suggesting that you like start fires in the front of the room or anything like that. And you shouldn't try to be a sort of speaker that you're not. But if you are dealing with a captive audience, your first priority has to be to find some way of engaging them at a level that's like combating their captivity.
Yeah.
And I'm not really getting that from you at any point. Instead, you're being the authority figure that by definition they're going to despise in the situation. So this is one of those rare situations where your professionalism might work against you.
Okay.
You need to find ways of getting around that. Ferguson.
I think she had like really good information and like, some of the facts were like interesting, but she didn't have like too many.
Okay. How interested do you think 14-year-olds in a driving class are going to be in this level of quality research?
Well, I think she like used good information. Like,
I think the information she chose.
I was trying not to make it fact after fact,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Like,
You've always had good content. Your academic skills are a major asset to you as a speaker, all right? Nobody denies that. And your research here is as good as ever. The question you want to be asking yourself is, in what way can I frame this research to make
So
it more
they can.
interesting to 14-year-olds who are in a driving class against their will, okay?
Okay.
Sometimes what pleases a teacher is not what pleases an audience.
Yeah.
Miss Parise.
I thought your intro tied into your conclusion really well.
Yeah, the question's there, and that's always a little bit artful. Mr. Ogle.
I like when she acknowledged what arguments there would be to this.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't really a lot of rational arguments
Yeah.
against, there aren't really a lot of rational arguments in favor of texting and driving,
Yeah.
okay? So if your audience's reasons for doing what they're doing are pathological rather than logical, how do you have to counter them? If they're making decisions based on their emotions or instincts, what do you have to do to counter that decision?
Kind of like scare them out of it or.
Yeah, you have to find some emotion that's a countervailing emotion to use against them.
Okay.
Reason is not probably the route to changing
Yeah.
texting and driving. You
Okay.
talk about those television commercials. What do they attempt to use?
Like scare you or like guilt you into not doing it.
Fear or guilt? Probably better weapons than purely rational, logical
Yeah.
thinking here.
Okay.
Mr. You have a name, Command?
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
I thought when you said, like, towards the beginning that you were required by law, it seemed kind of like you were forced to give the speech.
Yeah. Don't remind them.
Well, I thought that I was trying to like find a way to redirect their anger. That it wasn't like I'm coming in here, like I'm like required to do it. It wasn't like
the man's force.
I was It wasn't like I was volunteering.
I
to
see
do
what
it.
you're trying to do there.
Yeah.
Do you see how the way you phrase that might not
Yeah.
achieve that objective?
Okay.
Okay? You have the right instinct in terms of trying to redirect the anger.
Yeah.
But if you talk about this law, you sound like you're advocating for the law. You sound like you're being the man rather than sticking it to the man. Okay. You've been consistently, exceptionally good academically speaking throughout the class, okay? And that's an asset you should try to play to for the rest of your life. Always ask yourself the question, what does my audience want when you're trying to approach them from a persuasive standpoint?
Okay.
Okay, you do that, you're gonna be phenomenal at this.
Okay.
All right, great
Thanks.
job.